All right. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Nelson Vasquez from Central Florida. Uh, Let me trying to fix something here. For some reason, this is all right. So we're not streaming to a few of the platforms that we normally stream. And let's go live. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So it's 3 p.m., 3:03 now on the 2nd of October, 2025. Wow, three-quarters of the year already gone, huh? And I'm coming to you from Central Florida. Please put in the chat where you're watching from. And today we're going to give something away. Now, what we're giving away is going to be a Dr. Nelson hat, which I don't have the actual product in my hands, but it's going to be something identical to this. However, it's going to have embroidered on the back, uh, Dr. Nelson and KiltzHealth. As soon as I receive it, I will see it for the first time, but uh, we're going to give one away today. Hashtag KMT. And we're going to give a black one. We have them in black and gray, and at some point we'll be together with the t-shirts that we have as well. All right. So today we have Katie Zarko, who's going to be talking to us for a little bit. And I understand that you are in Hawaii.
Yes, on Oahu.
Okay. So it's 9 a.m. for you?
Yep,
Oh,
9:05 a.m.
okay. Well, welcome. I know a couple of people who lived a long time in Hawaii, and I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, where for many years was the only place on earth that the coqui, the coqui frog,
Oh, Koki frogs.
sang.
Mm-hmm.
The coqui did not. It could be imported, brought to the United States or to any other part of the world, and it would not sing.
Oh,
However,
really?
yes, and in Puerto Rico, we love the coquis. Like you go on any night anywhere in Puerto Rico, instead of crickets, what you're hearing is the coquis singing. However, I understand that through the years, because there has been a lot of migration. If you know about the history of Hawaii and Puerto Rico, there has been a lot of migration from Puerto Rico to Hawaii because the climates are identical.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1898, we had a very bad hurricane in Puerto Rico that devastated the island. And a lot of people from Puerto Rico moved. That was probably the biggest wave. They moved to Hawaii. So there has been traffic between the two islands, or yeah, multiple islands in both places. And somehow transporting plants, this little frog that sings,
Mm-hmm.
got to Hawaii, and it sings in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hawaiians hate it, and we love it. I don't
I
know
don't
if you,
I don't hate the Koki frog. We don't have that on Oahu though. It's only on the Big Island. So if you know, Hawaii has 8 islands, and the Koki frog
yeah,
is really just it's just on the Big Island. So when we venture over there, it's kind of part of the experience. Is like, oh, there's that sound. There's that quintessential Big Island sound.
Yeah. And it's to us, it's all almost a symbol. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I have a shirt that someone sent me from the KiltzHealth tribe, and I don't know if it's here right now, but it says diabetes is reversible,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it has a little cookie. Anyways, just
That's so cute.
uh, so when I read the first time an article about the government trying to exterminate the coquille,
Mm,
it was hurtful.
yeah.
The local government, not the United States government, but
Yeah.
anyways,
We'll see about that. That would be quite the feat.
well, this was already many years ago. They
Okay.
tried, it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
They're very prolific. They're very small,
Mhm.
difficult to get rid of. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to me, that's what makes the Big Island special. So
yeah.
I don't mind it.
All right. So as I mentioned, hashtag KMT for a Dr. Nelson hat is going to be a black one this time. And please put it in the chat. Uh, so, Katie, uh, go ahead and tell us about you, who you are, and about your story with carnivore. I also understand you are a therapist, right?
Yes, I'm a marriage and family therapist.
Plenty of stories that you cannot tell there, I
Yeah,
bet.
exactly. Yep, all confidential. Yeah. Is there anything else you want me to cover?
No,
Just
no,
kind of who I
go
am and
ahead.
how I got here?
Anything you want to say after that, it's fair game.
Okay. Okay, well, I've done this a couple times now. So I think it comes out a little differently every time, which is good. It's like kind of gets the wheels spinning, and I think about, how I should kind of go through the timeline. And it's quite healing in its own right. But I think to start with what brought me to carnivore, I was in chronic pain, which at 42 years old, I wasn't willing to accept. I guess I've always been really mobile throughout my life. I come from a family of musicians, and I never picked up on an instrument. I tried all of them, and so I really used my body as my instrument. So I was very athletic. I played lots of individual sports and snowboarding and wakeboarding and water skiing and running, and that was just kind of my thing. So to hit 42 and be more or less what I thought was an image of health, because I was also vegan for 5 years and vegetarian on and off all my life, I couldn't accept nor comprehend how my body was shutting down.
What was the source of pain?
I had an old yoga injury from my tailbone that would act up in sort of a sciatic flare every now and again. And I instigated that. I guess I was lifting heavy and I had this low back pain that became another sciatic flare. And then a month after that, I got this random whiplash event by, kid you not, throwing my hair into a towel in the bathroom. And then 3 days later after that, my neck seized and I ended up in the ER at 1 a.m. having a full body muscle relaxant and Valium. And I had to be put in a neck brace. And it was right around then that I was just like, this is absurd. I'm not doing something right. And I got to look at that and take some accountability. And not only that, but in addition to the physical pain, I had been in and out of the ER at least 5 times in the last 2 years before starting this. And that was for other things like persistent UTIs. I got bursitis. Um, I would go in for the flu because I just couldn't handle the pain that I was experiencing in my body. And I've I've had 2 natural childbirths, no medication. I'm covered in tattoos, so it's not that physical pain. It's not that I don't have a pain tolerance, but for some reason, over the last couple years, my body just felt incapable of handling. And it wasn't just like, oh, take an ibuprofen and go on with your life. It was like I ended up in the hospital. So that
And
got
you
me,
were vegan at the time?
yeah, yep,
Okay.
for a long stretch. Like I mentioned, I've been vegetarian on and off all of my life. So eating meat wasn't something I was super comfortable with. And it wasn't because I didn't love the taste of meat. It had all the other components of it, like the impact that I make, the footprint that I leave, the ethical component of, animal rights and just everything in that. And then also following the narrative that eat more plants. So why not just eat only plants? And then that became kind of my MO until I couldn't do it anymore. I think there's a shelf life. I'm kind of onto this, like, I think there's like a 5 to 8 year shelf life with veganism until
It
you just
seems
break
it
down.
seems to be, and I always have something prepared in case my guest doesn't show up because this is live, right?
Mhm.
So guess what I had prepared just in case it was something about the vegan diet,
Yeah.
which we're gonna probably show now that you're here. Uh, we'll show it at 5:30 in our Zoom call because today we're having a Zoom call for those who has subscribed to the higher tier on the Kills Mighty Tribe. And so it's a 7-minute video.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
Yeah.
go ahead. You were 42, and this is how long ago?
Well, so I decided to take the plunge with carnivore on July 1st. So I just made my 90 days yesterday, which I
Okay.
think is a pretty huge milestone. But it's so funny because yesterday kind of came about and I was like, wow, like, was I expecting fireworks? Like, this is a journey, and I'm not changing anything anytime soon. I mean, I see this for life. I'm so happy to have just finally found something that really genuinely works. It's not like, oh, I made it and now what? It's just like I made it and now I'm gonna keep going. So I did celebrate. I made some carnivore ice cream and definitely relished in that. But
So how long did it take you to have some pain relief? Number one, and number two, was there any other health reason? Because you ended up in the hospital multiple times. It was not always your back or your
mhm,
neck, which
mhm.
is very interesting. But were there other physical ailments or anything else you were trying to sort of fix?
Address. Yeah, when you're vegan, you're hungry all the time. And I kind of address that with these big, bountiful, abundant, high volume, low fat meals. And so that became a very big part of my identity too, is like, okay, well, I eat these big meals, but that's also because I was hungry and unsatisfied like all the time. That's not to say that the food I was eating wasn't delicious, because I found I used to be a plant-based chef when I lived on Kauai, and working with food has never been an issue of creativity for me. So I could make anything delicious. So it wasn't that I wasn't eating delicious food or getting that kind of dopaminergic response from the food I was eating, but I was also just never satisfied. Like I could eat a pile, like huge, you ask my family and friends, big piles of food, and I just like still be hungry and want to top it off with some fruit or some plant-based ice cream or whatever. So in that regard, it almost took this sense of like control to just be like, okay, meal's over, let's go on with our lives and eat again in 4 hours. So one of the things that I really felt that I wasn't really expecting when I started carnivore was just to be so satisfied. And when you're satisfied on a nutrition level, it does many more it has a ripple effect into your emotions, into your mentality, into your physical well-being, your safety, your sense of, your parasympathetic nervous system just kind of like relaxes, or it goes into what it does best, which is rest and digest. So I felt safe, and that was new. And so that also helped me to feel joyous and liberated and free in a way that I hadn't felt in a really long time.
That is absolutely very good. Uh, at some times in my past, I have been vegetarian. I was never strict vegan because I had eggs and never tried to be on the extreme. But yeah, I multiple times in my life where I was vegetarian, and you're definitely hungry more often. Uh, some people might be hungry every 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And then on top of it, you have all that fiber to digest, and there's this constant sense of like you're carrying the food around with you
mhm.
for a while. And
Well,
I don't know.
because most of it you don't digest it, and it does come out, and it has to
Right.
come out,
Right.
pulling everything that's around it.
Mhm.
So uh, the satiety that you mentioned also is very. We understand. I think you understand now why it is. The protein and fat give you that sensation because they're providing you with the nutrients.
Yeah.
But how long? And I understand you've been only 90 days, but how long did it take you for you to notice? Okay, I'm not having the same level of pain, or the not having pain at all.
Right. Yeah. Um, it was instant. I mean, I started, so the pain that I was addressing with the whiplash, I was on, unfortunately, I was taking ibuprofen and Valium for a few days. I don't like taking any prescriptions, but once those got put away and I just resumed life per usual, I I did start to dabble in omnivorous eating. So I did try to break out of the whole vegan thing that I was doing, taking collagen, including some turkey. I think I was doing some regular Greek yogurt. And what happened for me when I did that was I experienced a lot of craving. I just had cravings for more sugar. So that was me trying to pair more animal-based foods into an existing high fiber fruit and vegetable diet. And when I realized that that was going to lead me to a place of either I haven't drank for 2 years. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I gave up alcohol 2 years ago. And when I was starting to be like, well, since we're doing this again, let's just throw in the towel and have a glass of wine and eat some dessert, and let's go out and have that special thing. And it wasn't that I don't allow myself indulgences, but it didn't feel right to have my body be led by craving. And I also work with a lot of addiction in my private practice. So, understanding the neural wiring in our, brain seeking pleasure and avoiding pain and conserving energy. And that wasn't lost on me. So when I started carnivore a few weeks later, that was to resolve the craving part. And I had been more or less out of physical pain, but still kind of reserved about like, how should I move my body? Should I lift heavy? And I think at that point I was just walking. And once I started carnivore, I mean, it was instant. I just felt nourished in a way and energized. And maybe it was, I don't know, I think a bunch of our neurochemicals start to fire and wire and take new pathways, and we start to feel good again. And I was out and running the same week. I was going for long walks, and then those long walks became jogs, and then I just resumed my exercise routine. And I know that a lot of people who start carnivore go through that keto flu almost immediately. It can be pretty severe. We have to bolster with electrolytes and might even need to supplement, and the dips are real and the cravings hit. But I don't know. I certainly don't think I'm some kind of unicorn here, but like I had the opposite effect. I just felt boundless.
Yeah, I've never experienced a keto flu myself, and I have done a keto diet on and off for probably as far back as 30 some years ago. As a matter of fact, pretty sure about 33 to 35. Never, I always use it just as a temporary measure to lose some weight. Uh,
Mhm.
this has been me for the past more or less 40 years. And, but I never thought of it as a permanent thing. So, of course, whenever I went back to eating the way I was eating
Mhm.
it, uh, the weight usually would come back.
Yeah.
Not exactly very rapidly, but steadily enough.
Mhm.
And with the pain, by the way, I had back surgery. I had chronic back problems since I was 17 when I herniated disc jogging.
Oh.
At 27, had surgery, and pain has been a part of my life always. And now I may get some pain and soreness when I exercise, uh, and sometimes in the morning getting up,
Mhm.
you know, you some soreness that doesn't last more than a few minutes, but otherwise, no pain. Plantar fasciitis for
Mm.
almost 40 years, 35 at least, gone. I
Yeah.
didn't even realize when it went away because when you don't have pain, you don't pay attention to it, right?
Exactly.
And also on the third day, 34th day, I was so satiated. When I woke up, I knew I wasn't going to eat that day. And today,
Mm.
by the way, it's a similar day. This morning, I thought, let me make some eggs. Or wait a second, I'm not really hungry. So
Amazing.
a few times during the day, I had the thought, maybe I should. No, but I really am not hungry, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
necessarily go and eat just because. Uh,
So you make fasting a regular part of your program?
I usually eat once a day. How many times a day do you eat?
So I take on a little different approach. I've experimented a lot, but I think what works for me is I eat 3 meals a day. I just kind of I use Carb Manager right now just as I'm doing a little experiment and spreading my meals throughout, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're just so that I can make sure that I get adequate calories. That was kind of an interesting learning curve for me. I was either getting like 5,000 calories or I was getting 1,000 calories. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was getting enough to support my metabolism and not find myself like 30 pounds heavier and then having to lose the weight because I had, kind of lost track. So I am tracking right now. I know that that's not inherent in nature, but it's something that as a woman, I find important in my journey, especially as I kind of reestablish trust in my body again. I don't I don't plan on leaning on that forever, but fasting for me is just it's tricky. I'm not quite dabbling in that yet, and I don't know if I will. I've done some fat fasting. I did the sardine thing for a day and it was a little too low in calories for me. So I like to navigate. I certainly don't judge anybody who does fast. I think it's incredible. I mean, I don't know if it's something I aspire to, but I'm like definitely get the wow factor from me for people who like yourself or Dr. Kiltz and does the week long fasting. Like it's it's amazing what
So
the body can do.
there is no wrong way. There's no wrong way, and some people need to eat 3 times a day.
Mhm.
Some people, after you've been doing this for 90 days,
Right.
and maybe at some point you might feel, well, maybe I can split the amount of food between 2 meals.
Mhm.
Just if you naturally get there, that's fine. If you continue to eat uh, 3 times a day, I don't think there's any wrong way.
Yeah.
Uh, Many people for certain things, because I always look at what metabolic dysfunction you have,
Right.
and then the strength of the diet basically has to be parallel to the amount of problems that you have. I do a lot better with once a day. Number one, because I had developed some gastroparesis,
Mm,
uh, and I just feel better when
mhm.
I can eat twice a day if I wanted to right now, but I feel better when I only eat once a day.
Yeah.
But I do try to eat enough food. Um, and so I encourage, if someone wants to track, go ahead and track. That is, if that's what's helping you to go through the moment, your season right now,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
What does the rest of the family eat like?
My family.
Yes.
So
You have
my kids
kids?
are, yeah, yeah, my
Okay.
kids are still giving me grief because I used to, I was the vegan mom, and I even had a period of time where, I never impose what I'm doing on anyone. I'm totally fine with just owning my own way and letting everybody else do their own thing. But I did have a period of time where if my kids wanted meat, we just have it out. So if we're going to have meat, I would have other people prepare it, and I just didn't make it at home. Um, but now that it's only meat, my kids are like, "Oh, mom, where are the carrots? Where's the broccoli, mom? Where are the bananas on the counter, mom?" And they kind of they make fun of me a little bit. This it was not a hard transition for my husband whatsoever. And you mentioned plantar fasciitis. He used to have that too, and he's not doing strict carnivore by any stretch, but he did kind of jump on with me, and we started eating more meals together, which is healing in a whole other relational department too, when you can just share more of your home cooked meals together. He ate what I ate or what I made when I was vegan, but it was, I think we're getting a lot more pleasure from our food, at least from his standpoint.
Uh,
But naturally he jumped on, and he mentioned one day, I think the two main things that kind of he dropped out of his old diet was soda and candy, just whatever, just little treats that he'd get himself. And he noticed right away that plantar fasciitis went away. And he said it was so much easier for me to get out of bed in the morning. And I was like, if that's you just eating, joining me on meals, like that's good enough.
yeah, yeah. Plantar fasciitis. If anyone here hasn't had it, very typically it's what I call a pathognomonic sign, meaning you can almost say that's the only diagnosis you have. When you start walking in the morning or
Mhm.
after sitting for a while, very typical plantar fasciitis, that first step is the most painful one. So
Oh,
getting out of bed, for example,
yeah.
would be, you would have more pain at that moment than at any other point, in a singular point during the day usually, unless you had been resting for a while. So anytime you rested, you would think, because we tell people, well, if it hurts, rested, right? But
Hmm.
that's the only condition where rest actually will be more pain afterwards.
Well,
So it nobody dies from plantar fasciitis, by the way,
mhm.
unless they're trying to cross a street and the pain doesn't let them.
Right.
But it hurts. It
But
is
it's
very
it's also
painful.
clearly correlated to other inflammatory
Oh,
responses in
absolutely.
the body. So, you know,
More Most things that are chronic diseases have to do with inflammation. So
right.
anyway, so you mentioned your kids mentioning the veggies, but
Mhm.
part of what they're doing is kind of teasing you.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but what are they eating like right now? What do you?
So, great question. I stopped buying fruits and vegetables unless they ask me for frozen strawberries or frozen fruit. We live in Hawaii, obviously, so we can get fresh fruit year round. But they don't ask me for it anymore. So if they do, I'll usually buy some frozen fruit and leave it in the freezer. I don't buy veggies anymore, so that's not a part of at least the protocol. I took my son to Whole Foods one afternoon to get some things, and he made a salad for himself in the salad bar, and I didn't stand between him and that. But for the most part, I'm just trying to incorporate um, as many animal foods as I can and animal fats. So I'll do like a sourdough French toast in the morning with heavy cream and eggs and sourdough bread, and I'll cook that up for them. And then we do a lot of chicken and salami and hot dogs, and I do chuck roasts in the slow cooker. My son is a lot pickier than my daughter, so we're just kind of like edging our way in. And like I said, I don't impose anything. I just try to incorporate it for them, so at least they get the exposure. They certainly see what I'm doing, and they know what my kind of protocol is at this point. So I know that
Uh,
that's leaving. I know that that's planting a seed.
of course, yeah. And even kids, I mean, what is it that kids usually don't like when you're, as they're babies, and you are feeding them and you're trying to put these vegetables in their mouth?
Mm,
They usually, the first reaction is spit them out, right?
yeah, yeah.
And they don't do the same when you're offering them meat or eggs. They kind of
No,
like it. By the way, do you eat eggs?
yes, yeah, and I do for my son specifically, who's pretty picky, as I incorporate it into the French toast. But I have pictures of my daughter gnawing on chicken bones when she was a baby, just as a teething tool. And thankfully, even though there's some adapting on their part to get used to this, they were both breastfed until they were 2.5, 3 years old. So they got the best of the best for the first, fundamental years. And at this point, I figure they'll just kind of navigate to what feels their best, kind of like we do on carnivore
Yeah,
too.
absolutely the best carnivore meal for them, by the way. Uh,
Hmm.
Ancestrally appropriate. How about the extended family?
So am I getting grief from everybody else in my family?
Yeah.
Um, at first, my mom was concerned, especially because when I was plant-based, I incorporated a lot of that narrative into my work. And I was taking on I mean, thank God, and I still am so grateful for this, that my business is called Therapeutic Eating, and it's not like therapeutic vegan eating or therapeutic plant-based eating. So I felt like I already gave myself privilege to change what eating meant. But she was concerned that, let's see how long this lasts. I think my dad was pretty excited about it because I was kind of taking on what he has been doing for a long time, which is more or less, I mean, my dad's a pretty big dieter, but he had never done anything like a vegan diet or anything like a plant-based diet. It was always, cottage cheese and Greek yogurt and chicken and, to whatever quantity he felt was supporting his goals. So I was eating a little bit more like him, and he was excited about that. My brother, uh, lots of questions, doesn't, I think he's just waiting for me to update him again. So we talk maybe once every couple weeks, and it's just kind of like, are you still doing it? Are you still doing that meat thing? And, so far it's just been, yeah, and it's great. And I'm not, thankfully, I'm not getting any pushback. Like, no one's arguing with me, but because I'm not a stranger to doing extreme things, I think they're just kind of like, okay, there's Katie just doing the extreme thing again, and we'll see what changes next. So I'm
When
okay with
you were vegan, though, were you actually, because I think you could actually do a vegan or vegetarian diet, and if you're r- really strict and then you supplement, I mean, you have to become a master at nutrition because you need to know what you're lacking. You're not going to
that.
get,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how many flaxseed oil you have, you're not going to get the omega 3s.
right.
Uh, the best source of B12 and multiple other vitamins is animal based. So,
Yeah,
but if you learn to supplement those things, you might be able to last longer than just 5 to 8 years. And
right.
but still, I mean, I have a friend I've mentioned already a couple of times this past week, but she was vegan for a long time. We're not talking about, I mean, a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, I met her 30 years ago, and she was vegan up until I think a year or two ago. Now
Wow.
she developed multiple sclerosis.
Oh my gosh, that's so
So
unfortunate.
I've had many people here with multiple sclerosis with
Mhm.
no symptoms and basically no medication anymore,
Mhm.
because on a carnivore diet they have been able to reverse the symptoms,
Yeah.
if not cure the disease. So I wanted to send her a couple of the YouTube videos, and I finally talked to her, and she tells me, "Oh, well, I did try to get in touch with her, and then I found out that she was eating meat again, or for the first time in a very long time."
Mhm.
Well, she is carnivore. It was her husband who started it. 1 year she's been carnivore, and her last MRI didn't show anything.
Yeah, I believe it. I'm
To
such
the,
a believer.
yeah, to the point that her neurologist told her, "Oh, you were misdiagnosed,"
Mm.
because she's in a new area with a new neurologist. But she had all her medical records, and when the doctor saw the actual previous MRIs, then he said, "Oh no, I mean, you did have multiple sclerosis. Right now, there is no traces of it,
Yep.
uh, and she's still dealing with some adaptation
Mhm.
even after a year.
Yep.
Uh, but the multiple sclerosis symptoms are gone."
Yeah. I
So,
love all of the interviews and the stories that I've heeded so far. I tend to send those probably the most when they have to do with MS. I shoot them off to whoever I know deals with those autoimmune conditions and just said, like, there's a way, I'll just leave this right here.
so when you decided, you mentioned 90 days, and were you thinking, I'm going to do this only for a limited amount of time, or?
No. No, I think that's part of maybe being somewhat of an extremist is that when I do something, I go all in and I'm committed and I think, well, this is kind of who I am right now and I don't see that changing. So, you know, that was also how I was with veganism. I thought very much that that was who I was going to be forever, and I think I kind of pay homage to that mentality in a sense because if I hadn't been so extreme, my body might not have broken down so quickly, and then I wouldn't end up here today. So when I started carnivore, and not only that, but just like started to feel so much better, I can't imagine. I mean, some people want to use it as a cleanse or as a healing or a cleansing protocol so that they can eventually include plant foods in their lives again. And like, even as a veteran vegan chef and making plants my MO, like I have no interest. I have no interest in fruits and veggies again, or trying to figure out a way to incorporate them. And I totally respect people's desire to, I don't know, to rework things back into their life. But I don't know if you ever recommend Sally Norton's book, The Toxic Superfoods. But after reading about the damage I'd caused,
Oh, wrong one.
but there it is. Yeah. After reading that and how much damage I'd done to my body through oxalates, I mean, you know how Anthony Chaffee says plants are trying to kill you. I voluntarily chose the damage I was doing to my body, even though I wasn't cognizant of how dangerous they were.
When
So
you
I
were
just
eating
don't.
vegan, were you doing a lot of raw vegetables?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So certainly, if you're gonna eat vegetables, some people still like to, even after getting exposed to some of this same knowledge, they
Mhm.
might choose to eat vegetables, fruits, nuts, and these things. But at least if you have an understanding, if they're able to tolerate certain foods and limit the amounts, they're able to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but like I mentioned, I've been vegetarian um, multiple times, and I used to eat a lot of the fake veggie meat
Mm-hmm.
uh, since I was growing up, uh, which I think was part of the reason I probably got a little encounter with the C word, which is so far so good,
Right.
cleared up.
Mm,
But uh, number one reason for bladder cancer is smoking. I never smoked.
mm.
But ultra processed foods probably have a lot to do with it. So, were you staying away from ultra processed foods when you were vegan?
It's funny you should mention the fake meats because I, I was no foreigner to having eaten meat or knowing what meat tastes like. I had even tried carnivore 6 years ago or so for 20 days. And it was well before the carnivore community was really well established. And I know for a fact now that in hindsight, I just didn't know how to continue because the support wasn't there. So I know what it's like to have meat just melt in your mouth. That does not happen with plant-based products. Whatever the Beyond Burger or the Impossible Burgers or any of the sausages that texturally might emulate meat, there is a primal instinct and a response that happens when you put meat, actual animal foods into your mouth and let them, melt on your tongue and your body assimilates them. It is you can't compare that to a plant-based product. It just doesn't do it for you. So you might get a texture, but you're really kind of fooling yourself into thinking that's doing anything likened to a steak or a burger. So I
Have
remember even eating a Beyond Burger and thinking, I'm like only halfway there, only halfway to pleasure. At least I'm getting the texture, but it wasn't it.
and have you lately taken a look at the list of ingredients of those?
I believe you. Like it's wild.
Yes, it's most of them. I even have trouble pronouncing
Mhm.
them because there's so many things there that are just it's absolute. I certainly would advise someone who insists on eating some vegetables or fruits to eat the whole fruits, the whole
Right.
vegetables, and don't. It's just as bad ultra processed food as anything else, whether it's loaded or not with sugar.
Right.
Definitely, all of them have vegetable seed oils
Hmm.
plus so many ingredients that are not supposed to be food. It's not food. It's not real food. If
Yeah.
you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I did forget to mention that uh, preceded by QQQ. So, how has this affected your practice? Because you mentioned the name of your practice, therapeutic eating.
Hmm.
So, how your change of perspective
Hmm.
regarding eating has affected the way you advise your patients?
Right. So I started therapeutic eating with the intention of fusing foundational self care and nutrition into the clinical practice of, I am your clinical cushion. You can come in and cry to me and vent to me and unravel with me, and I will be that safe space for you. And I'll give you some tips, tools, and strategies that you can use in your life between the time that we see each other. Right. And so when my patients or my clients come to me, they know that that they can ask for direction in that regard. There came a point where I just didn't even I don't know if it was subconscious, but I just wasn't even talking about food and lifestyle. We talk about self-care practices like getting adequate rest and hydration and vitamin D, but it wasn't like you should really go eat some more fruits and vegetables and see how you fare. I didn't even provide that for my clients at a certain point. Now that I'm carnivore and I'm experiencing all of these benefits myself personally, if a client comes to me and one, they want specifically lifestyle direction on what to do on a daily basis, this will be the very first thing that we talk about. But also, if a client comes to me and says, I have done everything, I'm at my end, I've done all the things, I do all the practices, I show up in all the ways, and I'm still depressed and I'm still anxious and I'm on the verge of either a divorce or antidepressants, this is also the place that I insert carnivore, because it is that level of empowerment that I see people are missing. Because when we feel great in our bodies, it's obviously not just a physical thing, it's a mental and emotional thing. And then that leads the way into more mental clarity that makes the next best decision. So I have watched a handful of my clients at this point, even couples who have implemented a keto carnivore-ish approach into their marriage. And I kid you not, and I've said it to them, they're touching shoulder to shoulder, their hands are on each other's legs during session. I mean, we're doing virtual sessions. They're noticeably closer. They're making more eye contact. I just think it's the most beautiful thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. And so it is that just because they're eating more meat or more animal fat or eating less carbohydrates or eliminating processed foods? Who's to say? I'm not conducting research over here, but I am absolutely watching it unfold before my eyes, and it's great.
Well, the past few years, we've had, it's been now about 3 years, Dr. Christopher Palmer, I think, it was about 3 years ago, his book came out.
Mhm.
And then about 2 years ago, Dr. Georgia Eads, both Harvard psychiatrists. Have you read any of their books?
I follow both of them.
Okay.
Absolutely adore the conversation around mitochondria. And then the Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind book, I have
Yes.
right next to my bed. Yeah, I'm reading that right now.
So how has that, and obviously they're not the only ones. There is a kind of a ton of research going on in the past few years, which is not a surprise to me when you stop and think about, we knew over 100 years ago that epileptic seizures would improve with ketogenic diets, and epilepsy is basically a short circuit in some part of the brain. Why wouldn't we think anything brain related improves?
Yeah.
And of course, it does. So hopefully more things will come out. But obviously, if you're a therapist, you are dealing with patients that have anxiety, depression, bipolar,
Yep.
hallucinatory problems, schizophrenia. And I have seen, of course, read anecdotes and the studies where all those things are getting better with a ketogenic diet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
So
irrefutable. I love nutritional psychiatry. I think it's absolutely been that's where I'm just like, I don't know how we continue the argument that plant-based diets are healing. You know, when all of that information is out there and the books have been written and the doctors are it's not just an influential or group of people out on the internet. These are legitimate doctors speaking praises and watching their patients get better.
unfortunately, some people, because for the past few years, I've recommended to patients whenever we talk. I mean, anxiety and depression are, I don't want to minimize them, but they're the run of the mill probably in a practice like yours. And me as a family physician, it was like everybody had some of that.
Yep.
So recommending the diet change not is not always accepted well in the they might not believe it or
Yeah.
not willing to put into practice.
Yeah.
Have you had any feedback?
Not yet. I haven't gotten a lot of pushback. I think when my clients know that this is something I also do in my life, I know that they're seeking services or help or support from me, knowing I walk my talk. So I thankfully, I mean, I certainly have people who still have a deep attachment to their lifestyle or a deep attachment to their substances of choice, whether they're addicts. And that's just something we have to dabble with. I have a lot of people who might try carnivore but still have a drink, and it's not until then that you realize, oh, it's really the alcohol that's not working for me. So yeah, not yet, thankfully. The only time I've gotten some pushback is when people say, uh, I don't really like meat, or meat isn't something I gravitate to. And I honestly, I would never dismiss what someone says about that, but I wonder how much of the belief system
Well,
is present when we say I don't like meat, because a lot of us know the harm that's done to factory farmed animals, and that's just very prevalent in our
yeah. And
minds.
most of the time when someone says that,
Mhm.
it's been because they have grown or been for many years used to not eating the meat. So now it's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Also, of course, there are the ethical reasons for the mistreatment of animals. However, of course, the ethical reasons vary. Yes, I agree. We need to treat our animals uh, much better,
Yeah.
honor them eventually. Um, but there are, of course, once you find out about the arguments on, the cows are causing the
Yeah.
world to get polluted, or how many other animals die for them to grow wheat, corn, and all these things. Those
Sure.
arguments can be uh, softened, if you would.
Yeah.
Uh, on the coaching class, I basically advise the people taking the class that if a client says, "I don't eat meat for religious reason," that
Right.
might be one that okay, you accept it. Don't argue about it. Don't try to convince them, because they're those are strong beliefs. There are certain religions don't eat certain meats.
Hmm.
Uh, Certain other religions that won't have cow but might have goat and
Hmm.
lamb, so you can lean into that. But that's the one case where I don't try to bring up the conversation about why eating meat might be a better choice.
Right.
But besides that, if the person is willing to talk about it, then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so,
I honestly think it's definitely most people, it's not our places to impose our lifestyle choices.
mhm.
But I really do believe that how we engage in life and our physical posture and our stature, even, and how we take on life, can be so inspiring to people that you don't even really need to say much. Are you healthy? Are you happy? Are you smiling most of the time? Are you getting stuff done? Are you, conducting a cohesive family? Like, those things speak for themselves. And it takes a healthy person to do those things. And if you're healthy because of what you're putting into your body, then kind of speaks for itself. Lead
All
lead by
right.
example.
So, do you have any social media presence?
So I do use Instagram. I'm therapeutic eating across platforms. That's just me, Katie Zarko, therapeutic eating. I really, for now, I'm just on Instagram and YouTube. I started, when I actually started carnivore on July 1st, I took a break from Instagram and just kind of honed in on YouTube to, I don't know, re-identify, redefine myself, and but still have an outlet. Um, but yeah, those are the two places that I hang out on socially.
All right. So I think I have your channel here. Let's see.
I try to include as much fun food based things just because I'm typically playing in the kitchen. So I'll put up recipes as I can, what I'm eating in a day kind of stuff.
All right. So this is Katie's YouTube channel,
Yep.
and you can go there. And do you have the links for the other platforms there or not?
Oh yeah, my website and Instagram I think are on there too. Yep.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
So therapeutic eating.com, and across the different platforms is the same,
Yep.
therapeutic eating. And all right. So if everybody put K hashtag KMT, if you didn't, you'll have a few more seconds to do that. And we're going to give away a black KiltzHealth and Dr. Nelson hat. We're going to have those at Hack Your Health if they last until there. Only have a limited number. So thank you, Sharon, Pam, Shannon, Sandy, uh, Bill, Judy, Anthony, Papa Carnivore, Larry, and everybody that's been here. I see Bill Nutt from Alaska here. I guess, are you in a similar time zone as Alaska or not?
Nope.
You're 2 more hours
So I'm
than
6 hours. Yeah, I think they would at least be 3 or 3 hours.
I think 4 hours on the more coast. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe, but it's more than three. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, so thank you everybody for being here. I am going to bring the giveaway. Uh, all right. So I'll give you 5 more seconds if you haven't put hashtag KMT. And let's go. Not
No
slow.
slow. Oh, interesting.
Email Alia at drkills.com. Alia, not me. Email Alia at drkills.com. And it's the black Dr. Nelson hat, and she'll get it to you. Yeah, you're gonna have to give her your contact information so we can send it. Okay. Well, Katie, thank you for being here. This was a very good conversation. Thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of your day because you're very early in the morning.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've got a day full of clients. Thank you so much. This was a really great conversation, and I appreciate how you've interacted with me. You made it very comfortable and easy. So appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right. Uh, have a good day, everybody. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. On the same channels as always. And this afternoon, some of you who are a member of the KiltzHealth tribe and are on the higher tier, today actually is the first Zoom call meeting, and we'll be there at 5:30 with Jenny Middich. And maybe I'll show that video on the vegan diet. All right. You have a great day, everybody. Eat some meat.